Oh dear. Now, where do I start? Hello and welcome to a new video. It's me, Martin, and today we're going to be looking at English language teaching online and the market now as it is with China. If you've been following me for a while, you may be aware that China itself is the biggest market in the world for online English education. It's very convenient for English language teachers and students alike because you don't have to be present in the same vicinity, the same country, the same continent, to be honest. All you have to have is a decent internet connection, a laptop, and you're ready to go. Unfortunately, there's been quite a bit of change with regards to online teaching with Chinese students and online tutoring. The biggest news that came was the crackdown in China from the government in terms of private English education and tutoring. And it's not just English itself, but all the other private institutes as well, like science and maths and Chinese. There's a lot of pressure on students when they're in their own country to pass the Gaokao, which is the Chinese entrance exam to different universities. The higher the mark you get for the Gaokao, the more prestigious opportunities you're able to attain. So the better the mark, the more prestigious the university you go to in that country. China's now facing quite a social challenge because there's a lot of students university aged, but there's far too many students for the number of universities in the country. So there's less emphasis on students to go into the more prestigious universities by the authorities. They want to try and even it out, so to say, so that the better the better academically minded students there are, they're better suited for university. Whereas the more practical students should try and undertake a sort of apprenticeship or learn some skill. And they're trying to balance it and even it out. Unfortunately, with the idea and the tiger mums over in there, they want what's best for their kids and, to bring up their generation and their future generation. So the eldest son should always go to try and get very good job, very successful, the best university in the region or in the country, and try and help out their, once that child has reached a certain age and got married, got a very successful job, then they can look after the parents who've invested and devoted their time. Everything's changed because China's got a huge market for online education and it's becoming unsustainable. Unfortunately, you have a situation where the authorities don't want the students to compete privately and for these organisations to benefit profitably, and they want to try and even out that social inequality, I suppose. And also the burden and the pressure on all these younger generations in China that constantly being forced to study and study more and study different subjects that they're not necessarily interested in. You have the Chinese authorities saying, right, the law is that you just go to school. You're not going to go to any private language institutes to study Chinese literature or maths or science or English. What's happened overnight, unfortunately, is the case that you have a whole sector, very well established language schools and institutes in China, mainland China, where they found that they can no longer operate. One of the first schools that I worked with, Wall Street English, had a load of different franchises around the world, including China. And I heard, from my research that certain institutes in mainland China are now facing the prospect that they'll go bankrupt because of this whole change, this law that's been enforced for everybody. So it's a challenge. A lot of online educators that were working for Chinese online educational platforms. It's a huge market, or it was. A bit difficult to use the past tense at the moment, but it used to be a very big market, and online educators who only needed a minimum qualification like an online TEFL course and a degree and a background check could work for a variety of different online institutes. And now they're facing the prospect of losing out on that extra money. So you have, I don't know, maybe thousands and thousands of online teachers with the prospect of no work, no job all of a sudden. Or well, that wasn't really work itself, but it was a nice way of supplementing your income. The challenge that the Chinese government decided was that they couldn't assess the quality of the lessons that were being delivered for all these kids, predominantly kids. The adult online educational business is a bit ambiguous. It's a grey area. No one knows what's going to be happening to adult online English learners. And I did see recently in the news that Chinese universities that have a connection or a link with Western universities, either in Europe or the UK or North America, they're slowly severing their ties with these foreign institutes, and it's kind of put everything on its head. So it's very, very, it's an unknown, you know. And if I have a look at an article, I've got a Guardian article here, and I'm going to just go through it with you and just share what I found from my research as well, because there's a variety of different articles and everyone's tearing their hair out, especially English teachers, online, English teachers who are based all over the world. They've lost their income, and some teachers only relied upon this income, but it gives a lesson, and I'm going to just share a couple of things that online teachers should be aware of a bit later, but let me just share this article for you. Okay, so here I've got a Guardian article. It's a really insightful article, and the first thing is it gives a case of a lady who decided to spend a third of their annual income in tuition fees for their child. Don't forget that it's not just English education, but it's also a variety of different subjects, all with the hope that it will help their little Johnny or little Sally get into the best university and pass the very, very tough Gaokao. So here you can see the lady was saying, my son started to learn English at the age of 5. So already 5 years old, there's that pressure on the child to learn English. And not to forget all the other subjects that they have to try and acquire as well. So a lot of parents pay a lot of money to try and get ahead. It's ultra competitive in China. So it's not just, I'll just send my kid down the road to learn this, that, the other, and keep them out my hair. No, it's ultra competitive because you've got parents competing against the other. So my child is doing this, and is your child doing that? And my child got a better grade at this, and so there's this parent-to-parent competitiveness as well in the country. Again, related to that, I've got a similar connection to that in Korea, but Korea's not necessarily barred private tuition. And here you can see that private tutoring increased year on year. Okay, they they surveyed that it was about $150 billion spent in 2016, and I think I said 210 billion this year. So you can see there's more and more emphasis, more and more spent on children and their education. If we go down here, it talks about Xi Jinping, and he said in March that he hopes that parents hope their children have a happy childhood. Okay, and they'll, and based on that competitiveness that they have, he felt that they would lose that happiness of childhood. And there's this sociologist, senior lecturer in international development at King's College London. He talks about two main concerns of Chinese people, that being education and health. Those are the two key aspects. So education for your children and for yourself, and your health. If you've got both of those, you're good to go. And looking a bit further in the article, they talk about where there's been more and more emphasis on controlling online education. Back in January, I think it was, I could start to see, particularly with the previous online platform that I was teaching with, iTutor Group, they deployed more and more controls so that all teachers had to have a specific qualification, they had to have a criminal background check and blah blah blah, and everything had to be there was more hoops to jump through, essentially. And so I could see back in January there were signs that things were starting to change in the industry, but I had no idea that things would change this dramatically. And I found a different article here, and the state of the industry, China cracks down on online education. So quite a big a big bold headline. Anyway, so here we can have a look. The Ministry of Education outlined a new plan. It's a little unclear. So online lessons must be limited to 30 minutes for kids. Most that I taught for children were limited to 30 minutes, 25 minutes I think it was, but there are others which were about 45 minutes, so there's certain changes already. No online lessons can be taken after 9 p.m. Beijing time. So now this has the impact on limiting the hours that kids take. Obviously it benefits the kids if they go to bed early, they wake up early, they have a better and more fulfilling day. No online classes can be taken during the weekend, holidays and school breaks, so that's out. Monday to Friday, that's all you can teach kids online. Off-campus tutoring, not happening in the public school system, will not go ahead. It shall not include overseas education courses. So there's that possibility that, particularly with schools, like a language school that I used to work with around the corner, they relied heavily on 150 Chinese going over to their language school in the summer for 4 weeks or so. That can still go ahead, but it looks like there's going to be quite strong controls taking place, and I guess certain age factors and that sort of thing, but it has to connect in with the public school system rather than a private school organising that. There will be a ban on hiring foreign teachers who live overseas. I'm not going to go into this debate about online English language teachers abroad working online for Chinese online educational providers, so they've banned that out right now. The final piece of legislation is that companies that offer private instruction will have to register as non-profits, so they won't be able to make a profit. They have to be charitable. They won't be able to advertise their programs. They won't be able to market themselves, and a lot of institutes, private institutes like Berlitz and Wall Street and all the others, they have big marketing budgets to entice potential students. So the English language industry in China, unfortunately, is dead. So where does that leave online English language teachers? Well, for those English teachers that were working for Chinese-based educational providers, I suppose there's a sort of transition period. I've heard certain online English language teachers are just completing and fulfilling their contract so far. However, there is an opportunity, because I did see in another article that certain parents still want the English provision to be provided, and there's been a sort of shift where parents are trying to find teachers. I think it was with Dad at ABC, and there were, parents were accessing the Facebook groups and trying to find the teachers that were teaching their kids so that they could organise and liaise with these teachers who found themselves not being able to work. What am I getting at? Basically, there's an opportunity where you can liaise directly with the parents and possible students. How you go about it, well, that's another matter. You could have a look at trying to join Facebook groups where you're trying to connect with parents and they try and connect you up as a teacher, so that there's that opportunity. But there's the other opportunity where you work for a platform which isn't affected by this change in legislation. So I've got a list of companies that aren't affected by these regulations. Profi or Profi, Allright, Cambly Kids, Preply, the one that I'm working with, to supplement my income, OutSchool, EduCity, Teachable. These are non-Chinese online platforms, so you could have a look at these, and these will give you a chance to possibly connect with Chinese students who are seeking to continue their English studies. But for me, on Preply, possibly by September, October, there may be a huge shift towards English teaching or English opportunities for a range of freelance teachers. So don't give up too much hope. Yes, things have changed, but maybe things have changed for the better, and we'll see how best it could benefit teachers themselves, because let's face it, if it's a 160 to 210 billion pound $1 billion industry, then you've got the factor of how much were these online educational providers creaming off the talent of these online teachers wherever they were based. They were charging the same amount, whoever the teacher was, but then, paying the teacher a bit here, a bit there. And I've known some teachers to be a bit unhappy getting paid $5 for 25 minutes. It's not a lot of money, but what can you do? You can do it yourself, charge what you wish, charge what you think is a suitable commensurate rate, and then it's best that you deal and liaise with the students and the parents directly. So I don't think it's all a bad thing, but it'll be interesting to see where we are a couple of months from now. But that was it from me. I'll see you in a future video, I guess. Take it easy. Bye-bye.